been an interesting evolution in your character. He was supposedly like protecting the true, like the old American values, and in this case, he's just rejecting the government control and maybe the United Nations. So I would like you to talk about that. That's very interesting in this movie. The way he's acting, right?
Well, with regards to whether, you know, that was always a concern, whether, you know, the name America, whether or not that would kind of polarize certain audiences. But the truth is, the name America, I mean, what he stands for is something that's ubiquitous across the world. What, you know, what he believes in, you know, honor and morality and values, that's something you can find anywhere. But in terms of who he's been throughout the arc of his character, you know, he's always kind of fought for the greater good. He's always kind of put the needs of the masses before his own desire, and that's exactly what's different in this film. Instead of kind of whoops, that you know, let's put that in my lap for a second. Instead of kind of dedicating himself towards what others need, in this film he kind of prioritizes what he wants, which is a departure from what he's normally allegiant to. So I think it's again, it colors the character in a really nice way. You know, you have a guy who's this incredibly austere and moral character. It's hard trying to find ways to make him layered and dynamic, and I think in this movie he becomes potentially selfish, where he kind of puts his own desires first, but it's rooted in family, which is, I think, is a through line that we can all relate to.
Speaking of family, Jeremy, I wanted to ask you, as we got to know Hawkeye more, why do you feel that he joined Cap's side immediately in this film?
He's the one who called.
I
mean, I didn't write it. Talk to these guys. They wrote it. No, I think probably retirement's quite boring. You know, and then go help a friend. Hey. It's not, and the moral compass is not far cry from Cap's sort of thinking as well. Anyway, at least that's how I see Hawkeye to be. We're sort of principled and.
He owes a debt to Scarlet Witch, so and her brothers. So.
Yep.
You know, when she's under duress, it's a call to arms for him.
Yep.
Hello, Jim McCory with GeekDad.com. Kind of an actor question. Actors always fill in the gaps in the backstory in their head of stuff that informs the character that isn't in the script and that we never see. What is, all of y'all can answer this, what is something that you know about your character that we don't know?
I think that's like a all never tell kind of moment, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's on you, man.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I don't know.
It's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I kind of am on board with you that I think to some degree, I mean, this is almost like the way it is as being an actor in general. Some things, you know, certain things you want to share and certain things you don't. I think to some degree, it's almost nice having certain parts of the character that are intimate. And ultimately, at the end of the day, these guys do a good job of fleshing out the tones that they want you to see better than we ever could. That's one of the things when I was just doing the interview with you guys, you two and Kevin and the Russos, and they were just talking about how they form these stories and form these arcs. And you really think these things, I'm kind of deviating from the question, but it just feels worthy to bring up because it blew my mind. I've been doing these for a long time now, and we were having an interview, and they were talking about how they were going to a meeting, and sometimes you think with these movies, these giant Marvel movies, any big movie where you think there's 1,000 cooks in the kitchen, you assume there's some sort of formula, some algorithm that kicks in and there's 30 people in suits being like, this is what it needs to be. But the truth is, it really is Joe and Anthony and Kevin and Nate in a room mapping out stories for so many characters, so many arcs, and they're making them real. They're making them actual fleshed out arcs and conflicts that are worthy of a film. All the explosions in the world aren't going to make you care, and it's nuts to think that it really comes from a few people's brains. And again, this is not exactly the answer to the question, but I think it was worth bringing up because it blew my mind. Because I've been doing this for a while, and it was nuts to kind of realize it really does start from just a few people.
What was your process like in this film as opposed to Winter Soldier when he's not himself, he's not who Cap knew?
Well, just to piggyback on what Chris said, you know, I think I'm always fascinated about the same thing. It's just, you know, for example, our writers, Christopher and Steven, I mean, it's just phenomenal to me the way that they were able to write a script that gave every character a moment, an arc, you know, an arc, and particularly I think they were the ones that kind of figured the temperature of Bucky Barnes. You know, how much of the guy is back from the first movie, how much of the Winter Soldier's there, and for me it was just sort of taking it off the page and following them. You know. But a lot of that, I think, is determined in the writing and then also in the decisions that these guys make. You know, and the fun part for me is I never know, you know, where they're going to take it. So